Hi, I'm Tom Stevenson, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a professor of construction management, and we explore everything construction related. Today we're going to be talking about careers in construction, pathways in construction. So if you're thinking about getting into the construction industry, or you've just entered the construction industry, you're thinking about a career or pathways to different positions within the construction industry, this video should help you out. I've dealt with tens of thousands of students over the years in the college sector and university sector who have been seeking jobs in different areas of construction. I can tell you there's a lot of different ways to go about doing this. And it doesn't have to be just through colleges and universities, as we'll explore. Maybe what we can do is we can start out with this term that you've probably heard, follow your passion, right? Follow your passion, follow your passion. And I used to agree with this. But over the years, I changed my mind. And if you ever have read, as you can see, I like to read books a lot. By the way, that's a really good thing if you want to learn construction, is to read a lot of books on a lot of topics related to that, and you will do very well in your career. But I kind of changed my mind because you don't really know what your passion is till you try certain things. So to think that, oh, this is your passion, you see people driving around in a truck when you're a kid and it looks like it's a lot of fun. But that's such a little part of it. And you might get into it and find you don't really like it. Construction industry is so big you don't like one little part of it, there's probably a good chance you'll like another part of it. But still, you got to try different things before you're sure. There's different sort of thought processes with any career. So I've got those sort of three layered up here. Working in construction is a job. It is a job, and potentially that job, it'll provide you with food on the table, rent that you can provide for. Working in construction is a career. Yes, you can definitely spend a whole career in construction. It's not like some of the service industry jobs where it's kind of entry level and you kind of get stuck at entry level. You can definitely advance through in the construction industry if that's your passion once you get in there, that's something that you want to do. And the other is it's a calling. I think far too often in the construction industry, we don't consider what we're producing. We're basically producing houses for people to live in, hospitals for people to be treated in, sewage treatment plants to stop the spread of disease, roads, highways, infrastructure so that basically we have electricity so that we can move from one place to the other. Where would we be without the construction industry? We would be lost. And if you kind of are in the construction industry and you've got a certain area that you're working, I would definitely be thinking about what is it, the end product that we're producing. I think that people, when they get into the industry and they get a taste of it and they get into a sector that they enjoy, well, then you really, really enjoy it. It's a calling and you get very good at it. And you're going to make a really good living at it because it's not something that's going to go away. So that's the other thing I think that's really good about the construction industry. It's got a lot of stability in the fact that it's not going to disappear. It is an industry that is very resilient that way. Some industries, they just disappear. Construction is not that way. It's going to take a long, long time to be able to make the construction industry that it doesn't really employ a lot of people. And I know we're all concerned about AI and some of the new technologies. I'm telling you, though, of all the industries, I think construction is one of the most resilient in that portion. So, and I really, as I said, I like to think about these things when you're thinking about any career. So right now, maybe you're on the fence about, do I get in construction? Do I get into a different sector? I think if you try something, I would be definitely wanting to get a feel for it, whatever the area. And we'll talk about a bunch of the different areas and different pathways and methods, but get a feel for it. And then, you know what, if you start to get a little bit better at it and you enjoy that, then all of a sudden one feeds the other. And so you're getting better at it. You feel that you're growing, and then you want to get better still. And that puts you on a pathway to mastery of some particular area of construction. So be so good they can't ignore you, and enjoy the journey. This is a quote from Steve Martin, the comedian, who really sort of brought this forward. Be so good they can't ignore you. Cal Newport gets full credit for this as well in deep work and basically the methodologies that he subscribes to. Those are people that you could definitely look up for more information on that. So when we think about construction, it's like huge, all right? So just to give you an overview of the construction industry, we're talking trillions of dollars globally. And there's a lot of sectors within the construction industry, whether we're talking about infrastructure type projects, institutional, commercial, industrial type projects. You know, it could be a shopping mall, it could be a school, it could be a university, it could be a hospital, it could be a automotive manufacturing plant like a Tesla plant or something like that. Low-rise residential, high-rise residential, different types of construction that's used. At least for sure in North America, we tend to build with wood frame construction low-rise. We tend to build with concrete and steel high-rise. And renovation and restoration sectors. Renovation and restoration. Anything you build at some point is going to be renovated. So that's another part of why the industry is so strong. The renovation and restoration sectors combined are as big as the other sectors. Why? Because they keep growing and then you have to renovate it. You build an office building, you renovate the offices, new tenants come in. You have to change the footprint of the building because it's going to be used for a different purpose. So it's all kinds of mixture that comes in with the construction industry. And all of this knowledge, right? When you start out, there's just a little bit of knowledge that you have, right? Very small. Now that's being generous. Then basically with lots of experience, your knowledge grows. And then a company that you're working with, even all the people within that company and all the knowledge that they have, it's still limited to whatever sector you're in. You don't know everything. And so what do? We got to do? We got to fill all these gaps. We've got to, there's a whole area of construction where trades know more than the general contractors. We've got to be able to pull that information from them. It's huge. It's huge. And by sector, it changes the specializations, as you'll see when we talk about that. So no one is going to know everything. There's always going to be knowledge gaps. And how do we fill them? We learn. We learn more stuff, and we learn how to work together collaboratively. So construction industry, it's not about one person doing something. It's about teams of people coming together to make a project happen, to better society from that purpose. And I think that's where I think about the calling side of things. And this knowledge, it's constantly growing. It's like the universe, it's expanding. And so it's challenging, but it's wonderful as well. And so, you can see I'm passionate about this because it's an industry that you should be passionate about. This is just looking at a quick project, and I'm not going to run through all these things because I do it in my other videos. But, we pursue projects to get them. There's all these things we have to plan out and set up. There's contracts, there's documentation, there's authorities having jurisdiction that we have to get approvals from. And there's site logistics and coordination. And if we do all that really well, then we can execute better. But whatever we plan here is going to change. And then we have to work again collaboratively. And we keep doing that till we get near the end of the project. And then we have to do a whole bunch more things. And in the middle, it requires a team of people working to try to make this all function and come together. And we have like this little bubble here, trade partners. That could expand, as you'll see in the next slide, that there'll be a whole pile of different trade partners potentially, depending on the type of work that we are doing. So let's take a look at that. These are careers. These are potential careers. These are trades. So if you're thinking of construction, maybe you're very hands-on. If you're hands-on, you should be thinking about a trade. Maybe there's a family member that's in a trade that's of interest to you. Maybe you've got a friend that's in a trade that you could potentially try something out to see if this is of interest to you. Maybe you've got a parent that's in a trade, or an uncle or an aunt. So these are all potential trades, and there's more trades than this, but these are giving you a good example sampling. Well, how do trades work in construction? Well, typically, trades in Europe and North America and UK and Australia, usually there's some sort of apprenticeship program. And the apprenticeship program means that you're taken on by a company, say it's an electrical subcontractor. A subcontractor just means they specialize in electrical work. I prefer the word trade partner because it's more collaborative in nature. But they specialize in electrical. That means they have electricians. And in most jurisdictions, you have to have a license to operate as an electrician. And so you get hired on as an apprentice. That means you're going to learn this particular trade. And typically that means you're going to work a period of time, usually monitored in hours or years of work, combined with schooling, where you will get training, specific specialized training on being an electrician as an example. But any one of these would have that kind of apprenticeship. Once you complete that, you've done the hours, you've done the training, there's some sort of exams that you pass. And you pass the exams, and now you are a certified tradesperson. I would highly recommend that to get that certification in that speciality. Some of these trades, they're what you would call not mandatory regulated. That means like a carpenter, at least in Canada, you don't have to have the trade license. You could be working for somebody like as an apprentice, you learn it from them, and then you just keep working at it and you call yourself a carpenter. But the difference is if you have that license, a lot of postings for jobs, etc., will require a license, and that will set you apart and differentiate you. I mean, usually, depending on the jurisdiction and country you're in, the training's not very expensive from that perspective. A lot of it's subsidized depending on the jurisdiction. So it's not like you have to give up, going for a degree or something. Trades are a little bit easier pathways to get into, but again, you gotta have that you want to work with your hands. You enjoy that aspect of it. And that's very attractive to you. And you got to try it. Maybe you're not so interested in being a bricklayer. You tried that. Maybe you're more interested in being a carpenter or a electrician, as I said, or a plumber. Whatever that may be, you could try different areas and see how that works for you. Or you might try one and you really sort of like it, and then you can see the potential. That's a pathway to become a tradesperson. A lot of tradespeople that get interested in that and they get very good at it, then they become a foreperson. And a foreperson means that you manage other tradespeople on the project. And maybe you become a foreperson on a larger company, then maybe they do larger projects. You become a site super for that trade on those projects, or a project manager. So there's different pathways that you could take. Eventually you might say, you know what, I'm very good at this trade, but I really think I could manage a business. And so you open up your own electrical contractor business. These are all possibilities, right? So, and being a tradesperson, it pays well. It's hard work. It's physical work. You might not want to be doing it when you're 70 years old because it's hard work and it's heavy work, but certainly it is a very rewarding thing to do. You feel a sense of accomplishment, and there's clear pathways to do it in. So I would be definitely looking for apprenticeships, companies willing to take somebody on as an apprentice, right? And of course, depending on where you are, it might be unionized, it might be non-unionized, you might have both opportunities available, and you just have to find out what those specific processes are to get hired on as an apprentice. This is myself when I would say, I bought my first house when I was 19, so I was working on my first house. I did 2 trades myself. And so, like I said, I'm a professor of construction management. I started out in my dad's company doing trades, and one was brick and stone masonry and the other was carpentry. I took that, I did the full apprenticeships, the licensing for that. I did a third one on industrial woodworking, which is kind of a cabinet making one, and ran the family business for a number of years, had a teaching opportunity, and kind of shifted gears after running my dad's business, which was a general contracting business, which meant I did a lot of site superintendent work, I did a lot of project management work. I kind of did things backwards, did a business degree and MBA. So there's pathways that as you go along, they can open up other opportunities for you. And I did those degrees part time in the evenings while I still worked during the daytime. So lots of opportunities because maybe you can't afford that right at that moment, but later on, you're still working and you can take the time and the effort to do it. Lots of opportunities there. So I always credit being a tradesperson changing the way I think about things. And I find that that's very useful in managing projects and being a training consultant in project management with large construction businesses. It helps me frame things a little bit different, that experience. So that's a major pathway that you can take. Other pathways that you can look at is consultant pathways. All right, consultant pathways. Maybe you're thinking about, I love design. I've read up about Frank Gehry, and basically, the design is really my passion, and it's something I really think about. But you're not sure about it till you actually try it again. So, that passion part, you got to try things a little bit. So I would look for any opportunity that I could to get some initial sort of indication what's involved in being a architect or what's involved in being an engineer. I would definitely distinguish between the two. One is very sort of design oriented, creative from a artsy perspective, spatial perspective, and engineers, I'm going to differentiate really, really good at mathematics, right? Understanding mathematics. And if you really don't like math and that sort of thing, that's a struggle for you, it might not be the pathway for you from that perspective. So we all have certain talents, base talents, and it's nice when we get into a pathway where our base talents kind of align with that pathway. We don't have to be super at the talents part if we have a strong interest in it, that we basically are willing to put in the work. We can overcome a lot of things, but definitely if it's something that I don't like math, I hate math, and anything mathematical is not my thing, probably there's so many other areas in construction that you can go without that. So that would be a thought process. These are usually professional designations which are going to require you to get degrees and to be full out architects and engineers. After you get your degree, there's usually a period of practice and examinations that you have to go through to get certified as an engineer or a professional architect. And again, in the different jurisdictions, there'll be different variations from that, but certainly degree paths. Now, some countries and areas are a little bit better with pathways than others. I think Europe is, if you do a trade, it's easier to go through a pathway into engineering or into architecture. Canada, especially Canada, Ontario, we still have some work to do, I think, on our pathways between trades and degrees and other areas, although they have improved a lot in the last 10 years, because there's got to be recognition for the experience that you've achieved in other areas for those pathways. So these are, again, consultant pathway, and you can see all the specializations that architects can get into and engineers that can get into, civil engineering, structural, geotechnical, soils engineers, environmental, mechanical would include HVAC and plumbing. So you can see there's specializations depending what you're interested in, but they're all construction related, right? And there might be something that's really attractive to you from the historical aspect or another area that can sort of lead you into those pathways. Then there is, beyond the trades, beyond the consultants, and I didn't even get into cost consultants and other specializations, like quantity surveying, estimating comes into here, so that's fine. Construction management positions. Like I said, okay, so we got trades. Nothing gets done without trades, and it's huge. Each one of those has, can blow up as far as having positions like four-person, site supers, PMs. And then you got construction management positions, general contractors. So like I said, I grew up in the trades. Then I became I had to do estimating when it's a smaller business. I had to be a site super. I had to be a project manager. So I had to learn all of those aspects. Usually on larger companies, you're going to get into specializations. So you're kind of going down this stream with the project management stream or site superintendent. A lot of times you'll get somebody from a trade specialization, very often like a carpentry background, may become a site super, or through our educational programs and our degree programs that we have at colleges and universities that specialize in construction management positions. You may start out as a project coordinator or field engineer and move into site superintendent roles or project management roles eventually, right? So it's kind of, you start a little bit lower and you learn the ropes, and then you're basically your responsibilities expand. Usually when you're in a larger company, they have something called an internal labor market where you can start here, move there, go there, go there. And then, after 20 years, you're at a much higher role. Well, of course, within these, we have, senior project manager, project director. We might have a construction manager who looks after 3 or 4 big construction projects that each one has senior project managers on. And then from there, you might have vice president of construction. Usually at the higher roles, you want to have more finance backgrounds as well as construction backgrounds. That's where something like an MBA or something like that can be definitely helpful. But the roles at these starting points usually comes from 2-year college program diplomas, 3-year college program diplomas, 4-year college university degrees in construction management specializations. Sometimes they go by the names of like construction engineering technician, construction engineering technologist, construction management degree are some often names that you'll hear. But what you're looking at it for when you're thinking of applying for a career path in one of these is, what are the outcomes? What are the potential jobs that I can get from this? Where are your students currently getting jobs from in this particular area? So it's a huge area. All of these areas, particularly the trades, there's severe shortages of tradespeople. In the construction management positions, there's shortages of people. Maybe a little bit less so in the engineering and design side as far as shortages of people, but definitely lots and lots of opportunities in the developed world where there's a lot of construction projects happening. New roles at the bottom here: BIM specialist, VDC specialist. The names are still evolving. Like, these are new; they didn't exist really. If I go back to 2010, they were just kind of starting these kind of roles. BIM specialist, building information modeling specialist. The convergence of technologies, virtual design coordinator. So what we're trying to do in construction and the way the industry is changing is we're trying to get a digital twin of what the project's actually going to be. This is a great role for somebody that's very strong in the design side. Maybe you didn't go through an architectural degree. Maybe you went through a college program, architectural program, and you've got a lot of design skills with the software. Basically coupling that with some project management skills, this would put you in a very good role here. And these roles are only going to get bigger and bigger over time. So these skills are highly in demand. So some questions answered, right? I think in construction, you have to be able to solve problems. This is like, if you're passionate about solving problems, construction industry is a good industry for you. The construction industry has a lot of waste in it. We could be doing things a lot better. And there's about 35, depending on the data and what you're focusing in on the data. I'm going to use the aspect of there's around 35% waste in construction. For me, I think that's fantastic. For you, I think that's fantastic. It's not great for the construction industry. It's not great for the cost of things, but it's great for you because that means there's opportunities to make improvements. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to keep getting better. And so it's all about problem solving. It's all about continuous improvement. It's all about getting better. And my daughter got locked out of her house a few years back, and I remember going over because they were locked out, and my son-in-law wasn't there. But he said, "I'm going to get the locksmith, and they'll let us in." I go, "Hold on, let's not get the locksmith. I'll figure out a way to get in." And I said, I'll get the ladder, an extension ladder. He says, "We don't have an extension ladder." I go, "Yes, you do. It's behind the shed." They had just bought the house, and I did an inspection. But when I inspected everywhere, and I knew behind the shed there's this extension ladder. And then I was looking up at this window, and I thought, okay, at worst comes to worst, it's a double hung window because I know the window type. I know how it locks. And I said, at worst comes to worst, I can pop it with a pry bar. There's probably 2 little screws, and I can pop it and then go through the window and get in that way. And so, of course, I did and got in. Problem solved. Problem solved. And then I fixed it so now I can't do it if I wanted to even. But basically, you're just used to it. It's just like it's the nature of it, and you feel very satisfied with that. Like it was once you wanted to get the locksmith, then it's like, no, I got to figure this one out. I remember my dad was like that with something. He had an idea for something. Now let's go and do it, right? Let's execute on it. So how hard is it to get into construction? Generally, I don't think it's hard if you really want to get into it. So, it's like every industry. There's always some gatekeepers and there's always a few roadblocks. But I think if you're diligent about it, most of the students that I see at my college, that are good attenders, that are passionate about it, after having done a number of things and work summers and kind of know this is what they want to get into, I don't see them. More the problem is that they've got 2 or 3 offers and they're trying to figure out which one. What education do you need? Maybe you don't need any, maybe you need a lot. All right, so it just depends what you want to do. I just kind of gave you a background about it. I personally think that, number one, if you're kind of stuck that you can't, like you're looking for a career and you can't afford to go to college or university for 4 years, I would be definitely looking at an avenue to get a start, even if it's a laborer. I know laborers that have ended up to be vice presidents of large companies, but it's taken 20, 25 years. And they did educate themselves as they went along, but that got them the in that they made enough money. And then they do night school classes and different certifications over the years, and they get better and better and better at it. And they were very ambitious, they enjoyed the work, passionate about it, and they delivered. And that works. And so, yeah, you do not have to have a 4-year degree to enter into the construction industry. Does it give you a competitive advantage? Yes. Will you enter at a higher level overall? Yes. Will your pathway be faster? It could be, but it depends. It depends. So look, I teach in degree programs. I'm not going to say that they're not good. They are good. They give you a pathway and an opportunity, but I don't want to discourage other people. We need people that want to better our industry. And if you're one of them, then it will be a better industry. You can make very good money. What do I mean by very good money? Tradespeople in the Toronto area, I'm in Canada, not uncommon, making 100,000 plus a year. Toronto's an expensive city though, so that's the other thing. But not uncommon making $100,000 plus if you're a skilled tradesperson in our city. So as I said, should you seek a formal education? That's optional. What are the job prospects? I think there are many. I think there's lots of opportunities. The only areas I think are a little bit tighter are on the engineering and architectural side, but even those are pretty good. Will my job become obsolete? I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, I think you're going to have to build computer skills. Like I said, with the VDC and BIM coordinators, the better you build those skills over time, that would be a strong encouragement. Could you do a lot of those building of school skills on the side? Look, it's YouTube time. It's course online time. You don't have to quit your job to advance yourself. You can do that as you go along if you have to. So definitely, I would be looking at that. How steady is employment? It can be up and down. Depends on the sector. Depends on the city. Parts of Canada, it's a little bit more up and down. If you're like in Alberta, it can be a little bit more up and down with oil prices. When things are booming in Alberta, like, I mean, they're booming. And when they're not, they're not. In Ontario and Toronto, we've had some pretty severe recessions, but very infrequent. Last big one that we dealt with in construction, I'm going to say goes back about 25, actually, I'm going to say it goes back about 35 years. That was a really bad one we had, but last 25 years, little hiccups, but nothing too bad. But I do want you to think construction is a cyclical industry, and those sectors I talked about earlier, some are more cyclical than others. Renovations, it's not as cyclical. New residential construction, it can be pretty cyclical. Infrastructure, it can actually go up in down times if the government is stable. So usually in the past 20, 25 years, every time there's a downturn, federal governments, provincial governments, in the US, same thing, states and the federal governments, they pump billions of dollars into infrastructure to help support the economy and to help keep it robust. It's called Keynesian economics. That was done hugely during the 2008 financial crisis. Is it easy to start your own business? Yeah. So in construction, you can start with a small business without tons and tons of money. So that can be very helpful. How does this kind of work compare to other work? It's comparable. Like as far as opportunities and things, there's more opportunities in construction because it's more stable. It's less likely to disappear, like a lot of jobs are disappearing. There's probably going to be more prefabrication in construction over the next few decades, but that just needs more management of it. So I don't see huge losses other than short economic downturns. But once you come out of a downturn, then you're usually catching up. So I think it's a wonderful industry. I think it can be a calling if you look at it the right way. And remember, there's different pathways to success in the construction industry, whether it's through a trade, whether it's through a professional designation like architecture or engineering, or whether it's through the whole construction management area. And there can be laddering, especially between trades and the construction management areas. So hopefully that gives you some indication as you're making decisions about what you want to do. If you get the opportunity, try it. And I think you'll be happy that you tried it and you experienced it in those ways. I'm Tom Stevenson, wishing you a wonderful day. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more and you're thinking of this as a career, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, click the likes, and keep watching videos, keep learning whatever way that you possibly can, because that's the ticket to a successful career and a more satisfying and enriched life. Again, wishing you a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.